$10 billion, that is not a cloud deal, that is not a software licensing agreement, that is not Microsoft buying market access in a new region. $10 billion committed to Japan over the next 2 years is what it costs to build a fortress. And I want to be precise about that word, fortress, because when you look at exactly what Microsoft is building in Japan, not the press release version, the architectural version. The word that keeps coming back is not expansion, it is not growth, it is not even partnership, it is sovereignty. By the time this video ends, you will understand 3 things that almost no coverage of this investment has correctly explained. First, why Japan specifically, and why the answer has almost nothing to do with market size. Second, why the technology being deployed here is not the AI you use every day, but something far more consequential being tested on factory floors. And third, why Microsoft is essentially making a physical bet, not a digital one, on where the global technology supply chain survives the next decade of geopolitical pressure. This is not a corporate story. This is a strategic architecture story. Let's build it from the ground up. Start with a concept that has moved from academic jargon to government policy in roughly 24 months: sovereign AI. Here is what that term actually means, because it gets thrown around loosely. For most of the internet's history, data moved freely. You type something into a search engine in Tokyo. The query might be processed on a server in Virginia. The result might be cached in Amsterdam. And the underlying model that generated it might have been trained on a cluster in Oregon. Nobody asked where the data lived, nobody cared. The whole value proposition of cloud computing was geographic irrelevance. Compute happens wherever it is cheapest, fastest, most efficient. That model is breaking down fast. Governments have begun demanding that certain categories of data, government communications, defense contracts, critical infrastructure operations, medical records, financial transactions, be processed and stored on domestic soil, not because of nationalism for its own sake, but because of a specific technical concern. The concern is called data bleed. When your government's sensitive operational data is processed on foreign infrastructure, the foreign infrastructure provider has, at minimum, theoretical access to the patterns in that data, not necessarily the content, the patterns, who is communicating with whom. When processing spikes happen, which departments are generating unusual volumes of activity. For a civilian company, that is irrelevant. For a government managing defense procurement, that is a security vulnerability. Japan understands this at a constitutional level. Japan has some of the most stringent data privacy and intellectual property protection frameworks among democratic nations. Frameworks that have been tightening since 2022 as regional security concerns have escalated. For Microsoft to win Japanese government AI contracts, not the peripheral stuff, the core infrastructure contracts, it cannot simply offer Azure compute. It has to offer Azure compute that physically lives in Japan, governed by Japanese law, auditable by Japanese regulators, with no viable pathway for foreign access. That is what Microsoft is building, not a data center, a digital embassy. The distinction matters in international law the same way it matters in physical diplomacy. An embassy operates on foreign soil, but it is sovereign territory, data processed inside Microsoft's Japanese infrastructure. Under this framework, is legally Japanese data, governed entirely by Japanese law. That is the foundation that allows Microsoft to bid on contracts that no competitor without equivalent local infrastructure can touch. And the contracts in question are not small. Japan's government AI procurement pipeline, defense, public administration, critical infrastructure, national health systems, represents a multi-decade spending program that independent analysts have valued in the hundreds of billions of yen over the coming decade. Microsoft is not buying market share in Japan's consumer AI space. It is positioning for the sovereign infrastructure contracts that will define who runs Japan's digital government for the next 30 years. $10 billion to secure that position is not expensive. It is cheap. But here is where the story gets genuinely interesting, and where almost every piece of mainstream coverage completely misses the point. The AI being deployed in Microsoft's Japan investment is not a chatbot. It is not a better version of a product you already use. It is not faster text generation or smarter search. The category of AI that Microsoft is building toward in Japan has a specific technical name, vision language models, and the application is not a screen, it is a factory floor. Let me explain what a vision language model actually does, because the name is not self-explanatory. A standard large language model. The technology behind most AI assistants you have encountered processes text. You give it words, it gives you words back, extraordinarily powerful for certain tasks, but fundamentally limited to the world of language. A vision language model combines visual perception with language reasoning. It can look at a physical scene through a camera, through a sensor array, through a robotic vision system, and not just describe what it sees, but reason about it, identify anomalies, compare current state to expected state, generate instructions based on what it observes, predict failure before it occurs. Now pair that capability with Japan's robotics industry. Japan is home to Fanuc and Yaskawa, two of the three largest industrial robotics manufacturers on the planet. Fanuc alone has over 120 million installed robotic units operating worldwide. Yaskawa's motion control systems are embedded in manufacturing lines across semiconductors, automotive, pharmaceuticals, and food production. These are not research projects. These are the actual mechanical systems that build the physical world. For decades, these robots have been extraordinarily precise and extraordinarily dumb. They execute programmed sequences with remarkable accuracy, but they cannot adapt. They cannot observe unexpected variation and respond to it. They cannot communicate what they are observing in natural language to a human supervisor. If something falls in the wrong place, if a component arrives with an imperfection, if a process begins to drift from specification, the robot either fails, stops, or destroys product before a human catches the problem. A vision language model changes every one of those limitations. Microsoft's AI layer becomes the reasoning system that sits above Japan's robotic infrastructure. Watching, interpreting, deciding, communicating, the robot provides the precision and the physical capability. The AI provides the adaptive intelligence. For the first time, a factory floor can have a system that sees a problem, understands it contextually, communicates it in plain language to a human operator, and adjusts the robotic workflow in real time without requiring a programmer to rewrite the sequence from scratch. Microsoft is providing the brain, Japan is providing the body, and the testbed for this marriage, the place where the integration of physical robotics and vision language AI gets validated at industrial scale, is Japan, because no other country on the planet has the concentration of advanced manufacturing infrastructure. The robotics expertise, the engineering culture, and the government alignment to run this experiment properly when this works. And the early pilot data from 2025 and 2026 suggests it is working. The product that comes out of Japan is not a Japanese product. It is a globally exportable model for AI-integrated manufacturing. Every automotive plant in Southeast Asia, every semiconductor fab in Europe, every pharmaceutical facility in Latin America that wants to modernize will be buying the system that was validated in Yokohama and Nagoya. Japan is not the market for this technology. Japan is the proof of concept. The market is everywhere else. Now let's talk about the geopolitical layer, because no serious analysis of this investment is complete without it. The phrase "Silicon Shield" refers to Taiwan's strategic position in the global semiconductor supply chain. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, produces roughly 90% of the world's most advanced chips. That concentration creates a dependency so extreme that any disruption to Taiwan's production capability, through conflict, through natural disaster, through political crisis, would functionally halt the global technology industry within months. Every major technology company on the planet knows this. Every government security apparatus knows this. And the response, slowly, expensively, and with significant urgency, is geographic diversification. Japan is the most logical Pacific anchor for that diversification. Here is why specifically, Japan is a stable democratic ally with treaty commitments to the United States. Its legal system is predictable and enforceable. Its engineering workforce is among the most technically sophisticated in the world. Its power grid, and this detail matters enormously for data center infrastructure, is large, reliable, and becoming more so as Japan's return to stable nuclear energy generation reduces both cost and carbon intensity of large-scale compute. And then there is Rapidus. Rapidus is Japan's government-backed semiconductor manufacturing initiative, a program designed to bring advanced chip fabrication capacity back to Japanese soil after decades of ceding that ground to Taiwan, South Korea, and eventually China. Rapidus is targeting 2-nanometer chip production by the late 2020s if it succeeds, and there is significant investment behind that if Japan becomes not just a stable ally but a domestic chip source. Microsoft's $10 billion infrastructure investment and Rapidus's semiconductor ambition are not independent projects. They are two sides of the same strategic calculation. Advanced AI requires advanced chips. Advanced chips require stable, sovereign manufacturing. If both pieces are located in Japan, Microsoft has built something more valuable than a data center network. It has built a self-sustaining AI ecosystem that operates entirely outside the South China Sea supply chain risk. That is the physical bet, not whether Japan's consumer market buys more software licenses, whether Japan can serve as the hardware and compute foundation for the entire Asian AI infrastructure bloc. If the Taiwan supply chain ever faces a disruption serious enough to require the alternative $10 billion of data center infrastructure, sitting next to a domestic chip foundry integrated into the robotics manufacturing base of the world's third-largest economy, that is not a cloud expansion, that is a contingency plan at civilizational scale. So what does all of this mean for you? Here is the frame I want you to carry out of this video. We are not moving toward a more connected internet. We are moving toward a fragmented one, intentionally, by design, driven by governments who have decided that the free flow of data era created dependencies they are no longer willing to accept. The term for what is being built is post-global internet, regional AI superpowers, each with their own sovereign compute infrastructure, their own data residency frameworks, their own chip supply chains, their own AI model lineages trained on domestic data with domestic standards, not one global AI, but several regional ones, interoperable at the edges, but sovereign at the core. Microsoft's Japan investment is a $10 billion bet that Japan will be the anchor of the Asian democratic AI bloc, distinct from China's AI ecosystem, distinct from the purely American architecture, but integrated with both at the points where commerce and diplomacy require it. The old strategy was market share, get as many users as possible, process their data wherever it is cheapest, scale globally. The new strategy is sovereignty. Embed yourself so deeply into a nation's critical AI infrastructure that you become irreplaceable before the next competitor can even get permits to break ground. The question worth sitting with is this one: is sovereign AI a genuine security architecture, a responsible response to real geopolitical risk? Or is it a new and more durable form of technology lock-in, dressed in the language of national security? Because the answer changes everything about how you evaluate the next decade of infrastructure investment, and it changes what you think about who actually controls the intelligence layer of the post-global world. That debate is happening right now, in government buildings and boardrooms that don't make the news, and understanding it, at the technical and strategic level, not just the headline level, is the only way to have a real opinion about it, if that kind of depth is what you are here for. Subscribe. The next video goes inside the specific vision language model pilots running on Fanuc lines right now in Aichi Prefecture, and what the early performance data says about how close we actually are to fully adaptive manufacturing. See you there.